Hi everybody, thanks for coming here today. My name is Iryna Kanishcheva. I'm a public art curator, consultant, and founder of Monochronicle. You can see some of my work here in this video. I used to be a pharmacist when I lived in Ukraine, and when I moved to America 12 years ago, I had to start everything from scratch. I learned a new language, I got a new degree, and started everything over. When I lived in Ukraine, I had some inspiration from artists who lived there. I visited their studios, I went to different music events, and I always liked graffiti or taking pictures of something that doesn't fit, something urban, like trash in the street. Sometimes it can have a beautiful composition. And when I moved to France, I was raising a child and I didn't have many things to do, so I was exploring the street art and taking pictures everywhere, traveling to other countries nearby too. And I was impressed by street art festivals and just seeing how artists taking those paint and spray paint and buckets and just start buffing it in some places. And I was so impressed how they do it to just express an idea, and it obviously wasn't paid like a commission or anything. When I moved to the USA, Wynwood, of course, was a big inspiration for me. All these murals around, I was just so happy to see famous artists who I would only hear about, but all in one place. And I would just go like a gallery, look at this artist, look at this mural. And of course, I would attend gallery shows and projects that were done in schools also for free, when artists come and paint murals without being paid, just to beautify a place, deliver a message. So that's my inspiration. I started from just showing my photographs at different exhibitions, but besides, I would also show objects that were used in the art, as shoes, clothes, brushes, or even some trays that artists use, because I like how creative they may be, what they can use to make it cheap and make it affordable for them. And in Gainesville, where I lived, there weren't many murals, and I was questioning why, because there is so many young people and it's a contemporary art form, but there is not many murals. So I conceived a project to the city of Gainesville and curated it. We changed lots of buildings by placing beautiful murals by international artists. If you ask me why, this is why. We have this blank wall that is all molded, and after you clean it and put a mural on top of it, people come and they spend time there, then the businesses come, they open a cafe, and I just like all this process of revitalization and building the community, building places where people meet and spend time together. I have produced over 100 murals for the last about 10 years. And I keep saying this number for the last several years because they really don't count, and it's hard for me to say how many projects. But we started as a mural production company. But in 2021, I shifted more into a platform and started working with different media, not only murals, but also sculptures, digital art, and more. I feel like art can deliver a message, starting from graffiti when they just try to compete for territory or like talk to each other just by putting their tags. Art can deliver more powerful messages. For example, here's the project in Gainesville we did in collaboration with Shepard Ferry. It's his design in support of Ukraine. Local artists painted this mural. We fundraised money and then sent it directly to some people in Ukraine that they spent it to buy a helmet for soldiers. They spent it to repair a roof. And we were able to see how actually art can bring a difference, can really change something. Another project that I call Design Thinking in Public Art is based on the community input. So here we were interviewing the neighborhood, people asking them, what would you like to see as a mural? Who do you think is the hero of this neighborhood? Or what are your I don't know, what do you do every day? Different questions. And somehow everything just got together into one person who was a local activist, and she planted 200 trees in the area, and she would be everywhere, and we just, okay, we have to paint that. So this is hands of Maria, that she holds figs, and then we had the celebration where all the community came, and they felt like this mural is part of them because they contributed to this somehow. In recent years, we are focusing more on digital arts, and I'm partnering with Charles Alan Rye, who created this artwork. It's an LED wall with a sensor, and it reacts to movement. We launched a Light Digital Art Festival in Gainesville, and we experimented with different media. For example, this is a hologram. It doesn't look very pretty, but it's very cheap, very small budget project, and we wanted to show how it may work, because as this artist was trying to apply through an open call, nobody would select a hologram because nobody understands what public art hologram can be. So we created this little installation just to show how it works, and then in the future we want to build big-scale public art installation using that media. We experiment with video projections, we experiment with LED lights, and we are trying to focus on all the other kind of media that exist these days. Throughout my work, I realized that there is a lack of connection between different parties, different participants in the public art industry. And one of the biggest problems is unemployment. I asked many artists, like, when you apply to open calls, how many applications you submit throughout the year and how many of them are actually successful, and it's about 1%. Maybe 10% they get into finalists and they shortlisted, but when it gets to actual commission and getting money, that's just 1%, and everyone agrees it's about the same. So it's a lot of work. For art administrators, they have to use systems to collect those applications through open calls, and it can be pricey. So for a small city, for a small agency, $100 per open call can be expensive. Then there are other parties who supply lights, insurance, equipment, etc., and sometimes we just don't know where to find them. Friends and family, this is where we look for them. So there is urgency for connection, but there is also demand in private sector, developers, real estate, private property owners, and we also all try to have diverse lineups of artists. So there is need of bringing African Americans, women, and other minorities, and again, we don't know where to look for them. So there is obviously a need for some kind of platform, or because where do you find artists? It's either word of mouth, right? Like, I know this artist, so I invite him. And then you can Google artists near me, and in this case, you see results, either paid ones or organic, those who are actually popular, they do something, they're active. And art organizations like art councils or cultural affairs, of course, can also promote artists, so they have their list, local list, so you may find out about artists there if you reach them out. And again, platforms, this is where you can find artists. Here I wanted to bring your attention to different kind of platforms. For example, bid platform. There are some platforms where artists have to create an account, they show the artwork, and then clients come and they look, they may invite somebody, or a client posts their building, and then artists have to bid, and they say, I will do this mural for 10,000, another say, I'm doing it for 5,000. Okay, you get the project. But artists don't really like doing that because, first of all, it's hard to estimate, right? You don't want to charge too much, or you don't want to charge too little, and the price for murals specifically ranges really wide. It can go anywhere from 5,000 to 100,000. Then, call to artists, the government organizations usually use call to artists through platforms. They announce it, artists apply, they select someone. But it's limited because famous artists like Shepard Fairey are not going to apply through an open call. So there is just some layers of artists who would find out about it. The next option is direct call, is when you just call artists, and like Shepherd Ferry, and say, do you want to paint mural here? And this all limited by your personal knowledge. So I know these artists, but I don't know others. So if I just know this, then there is no way for me to find out about something innovative. And finally, Monochronicle is the platform that tries to have it equitable, so artists have opportunity to apply and be known. But at the same time, we try to reach artists directly when there is more specific a project, more specific skills needed. Next slide. When I was building Monochronicle, I was thinking as an artist because I applied to many projects myself. And the first thing artists want to see is the space, what it is, where we're going to create, and how much it costs. So they don't really want a bid, but what they want is to know the price. So if this is, I don't know, $10,000, okay, I can do that. If this is $5,000, no, I'm not interested. Or they may not just be interested in a space. As you can see, some other competitive platform, they might just put textual information, a lot of information, agreements, and other conditions. And sometimes it's even hard to see what kind of art they're looking for, whether it's a sculpture, it's a mural. Sometimes it's all mixed, and then it's even more competitive. At Monochronicle, we try to focus on artists' needs. And we feature all the information that artists need, starting from images of the space, sometimes even video of the space. We show where it is located on Google Map, and I came up with this because everyone I ever worked with always asked me where it is, send me the link so I could see it on the Google Maps, and you can see the location there. And also we feature all kind of other information which can be rubric, how artist is going to be judged. It features plan of the space, so artists have more understanding what is the project, and then decide if they want it or not. I really want to focus on the process, how artists gets commissioned, because I believe that the output, the actual artwork, depends on what the process is. So let's say it's a government process through an open call. We have artist materials. Everyone applies, so we have a set of portfolios, CVs, resumes, and then we have a committee, which usually just volunteers who go through all these applications and match them with the rubric. So if you have 200-300 applications, it's really difficult to read all this resume, read the cover letters, and try to identify who is then more excellent than the others, because perception of art is elusive. For somebody, this is beautiful, but for others, it's not. So they have to decide. Then the shortlist artists, usually it's about 3 finalists, and one of them gets commissioned. They all may be paid to create a design, and then they finally decide which design is going to win. But they all go into some kind of shortlist. And you see the sign AI here is because if we apply technology to this kind of manual work, we can skip this step and go to the shortlist, because a lot of the times the criteria is eligibility, whether artist is local or he is from somewhere else. In this case, we can already narrow down those who are not local. Then other criteria, artist has experience painting murals or creating sculptures. Artist works with durable material, let's say metal, and et cetera, et cetera. I've just picked some of my favorite artists. You see, I'm kind of biased because I like this, but I wanted to show you some innovative styles and bring your attention that none of them ever applied to open calls. All of these were selected, just invited personally to participate in the street art festival. And again, you see, this artist specializes on cellulose, so it's a very interesting work, and if you send him a small wall like this, he may not be interested in doing this. So who decides what is great art, or what artists to invite? You may think that the project manager may decide it, but there's lots of other people who are involved in this process. And these are those boards that are usually volunteers, such as art in public places, art councils. And there are city managers, commissioners, or CRA who may also have a voice. For example, in Gainesville, Florida, where I lived for the last 12 years, the city decides who is going to win. So the art committee narrows down to 3 finalists, and then the city decides who's going to win. And again, it's based on their background, knowledge, which is not necessarily might be art history or anything. Artists, on the other hand, they work also with fabricators and suppliers. If it's sculpture, they may involve lots of other people. And there are third parties that are platforms or consultants. Consultants may curate a project, suggest artists. Platforms may just collect something like artist applications and then provide to the project manager. But still, the process is quite complicated. And if we use AI, we can automate some of these parts and kind of release it or give people informed decisions. So if city managers may not know much about those artists who got narrowed down and why, maybe we provide them some information, what they have done and what is other relevant works in their field, etc. So here I want to suggest a future process, how I see public art should be. Well, first of all, I feel like a lot of challenges for artists. So we try to focus on artists' need and make it easier for them. So when they apply to different projects using different platforms, it's usually different kind of requirements. So in some cases, they need to put a name on their image. In other cases, don't put a name on the image. Put everything in one PDF. Put everything just one single file. Submit images here. Images might need to be of a specific size. So if artist already has his portfolio, he may need to go back to Photoshop and size them up or down to just be able to apply. All of that is a lot of work. And you realize 100 applications a year, it's something that is really difficult to do. So if we have a centralized kind of platform that takes the information, like TurboTax, you fill out the form, and then you can just use it to apply to different platforms without changing that. The next centralized feed is kind of like RSS when you collect all of the calls in one place, so artists don't have to Google and go to different places where they already know might be an open call. They go to one place and they see all of that and they may apply from just one place. Then there are some algorithms that we are trying to explore at the moment that can narrow down the applications. And it's interesting because we would have to come up with the criteria, usually the criteria that the art committees put together, how to narrow down. What is important, right? Like location, where artist lives, experience, whether he had awards or she had awards, and other criteria. But it's important to understand what we want artists to be. And then blind review system. Monochronicle already has a blind review system that is just hiding artist's name and rating the image without knowing who is that, right? Just the image, because in many cases, there is familiarity bias. When our committees work with local artists and it's a small city, they already know all the applicants and they may vote for one and another just because they know them. But if we mix it together with other artworks and don't say anything more than that, then they may just evaluate art itself without thinking of the artist. With the AI, we can just blur everything in the resume because currently we can only do it with the images, but we can really edit every resume or cover letter where they put all the contact information or names. Community-wise, just think about it. We create art for the communities. It's public art, but we rarely ask what people want, what they think, what the problems are. But if you create some algorithm that searches for artists' expression or like general community expressions or a critique on one or another artwork, then you can have a general understanding what the need is or how the people feel about something. And finally, the data-driven insights have to be present in every evaluation, in my opinion, because when we have those committees of volunteers who may not have art education or experience or other understanding, then we may want to tell them a little bit about media. You know, like for example, when I was a part of the committee as an arts council, then we would have some evaluation criteria like durability, and we had artworks wood, metal, plastic, and something else, and I had to rate what is durable. How durable? What do you mean? I don't know. How long do you want it to exist? I don't know if something happens to the wood, because I know there are some wood installations that are durable, right? And metal seems good, but what if it gets rusted? So again, if we give them understanding of what the criteria is, if we give them understanding how unique artist is, right? Because you may see a colorful, good design, but then maybe there's lots of other artists who do the same, or it came from somebody else. For example, you see the Starry Night of Van Gogh, you know who it is, right? But what if it's not that famous artist, but somebody else already came up with this idea, and you think, wow, it's so great. But in fact, it's not that great because it's a copy, right? So what we have done at the moment and already used for our consulting services is Monochronicle GPT, which is based on, everybody knows what is ChatGPT, it's based on that, but it's trained. So what I mean by trained is that we uploaded documents, we collected it over the years. When I was building the platform, I was trying to understand processes. I would collect different policies and best practices, examples, lots of information. So all of that gives more insights to AI about what's happening. So besides using the general knowledge, right, about art, everything it knows at the moment, it has more specific information, and I can limit it and say, use your knowledge to give me that answer. So then it may rely on specific documents. It may rely to the Miami Beach art in public places policy. And then I have a reference to that document where exactly it says what is the artist criteria, what is the evaluation criteria in this specific county. Because if you just Google it, it may give you lots of other information, not that specific, and it's hard to find. So what we use it for, as an artist, I use it myself to create a proposal, and we do help artists to apply for a grant using that. We help art administrators to come up with the ideas for the next projects. For example, I had an example in California where they had applications with artists suggesting projects in different places geographically, huge area. So they try to figure out how to do that. And we can show the map, we can show them, kind of group those applications and show which one goes there and kind of save their time going through all this manually. And I think it's incredible what AI can do these days, and it's applied to so many industries. And I just feel that art has always been a little bit behind. It's a little bit old with all the technology and acceptance. And this is my son. He's helping me there. I took this photo when I lived in France, and we would go to different neighborhoods and take pictures of graffiti. I was just exploring this world, and by taking those pictures, and I feel like exploring AI, it's something that we have to do because it's not going anywhere, and it's up to us to decide how to use it. And I feel like there is a lot of good things that AI can do. And here, Astitva Chopra is my partner in this exploration. We are trying to build models that do a little bit more than ChatGPT. We are exploring the opportunity of narrowing down those applications. We are exploring the opportunity of generating something and not be biased, because AI can also glitch sometimes. Next slide. And this is my personal email and Instagram, and I really want you to reach out and get back to me and tell me what you think, or what could be the application. If you are an artist, you have probably experienced some difficulties in processes. Maybe you have suggestions how AI can be helpful for you. If you are an art administrator and you feel like you're overwhelmed and you have so much work and there is something we could help using technology, we would like to explore that too. Thank you. I'd like to invite Astitva, because he knows everything about AI. He's a developer, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Thank you so much. Hey everyone, so I'm Astitva, and I come from a slightly different world. I have worked in technology and product for almost 15 years now, and the last 6 of those in AI. I have seen what has been happening with AI and what is technically called machine learning at a very close hand, and how it's transforming a lot of the work that happens in different segments and different sectors. I personally focus on the application of AI in science. But when Iryna and I met and started talking about the public art process and the public art system, I found a lot of similarities between how the scientific world operates and how the art world works. At the very top, there's the human endeavor, the scientific discovery, or the artist's creation, which is something that is completely human and cannot be replaced by artificial intelligence or machine learning. But around that, there's a whole system of processes and things and admin work and project management that needs to happen, where tools like artificial intelligence can play a big role. So we are jointly exploring this space and seeing where can we provide value to artists and art administrators using AI as a tool that would save them time and help them make better decisions.
Thank you so much. And for me, it's interesting to understand what AI can actually do, so I can apply it to processes and see how to simplify. And for him, it's interesting to see where to apply the technology, what can be done using that. And now I hope you guys have some questions for us.
I have a few comments and questions. During Design Miami this year, there was I was actually one of the speakers for this art company that creates AI, digital art, AI, but it's generated through the work of an artist, but through the AI process. And I like it that this talk has nothing to do with that, because what's unique is to be able to capture that brain or that idea. And as an architect artist, for about a year, I tried to get multiple projects through Art in Public Places. And I've done projects working with Art in Public Places, actually near here, 62nd, the ASPCA clinic. And the process is terrible. And you're right, they know, because it's always the same group of artists. And you just can't break in there. And I've even tried to collaborate with artists that are usually selected. That didn't actually work either. So the process is not good, and it's not inclusive or, I don't know. It's very small, and there are so many talented people. So the third comment, and I was thinking, like, how would you actually use this platform to make money? So it sounds like you have two ideals. One is to create a community of artists. And I guess alongside of that, you could also do private work where you can exchange the profits, I don't know, somehow. So that sounds interesting, but I'm sure this idea could also be very useful in commercial real estate, which is death to the art sometimes, but I think it's a fine balance, and similar to what Mana is trying to do is to engage the community, and of course it's commercial real estate. So thank you, it was very, very nice.
Thanks so much for your comment. I really appreciate that. And first of all, you mentioned artists creating art using AI. And there is some controversy. What should we do? Because if you try to Google something and see images of that, you will see that majority of images now AI-generated images on the Google. And it's a little bit terrifying, right? But there is good thing about it. Like, artists use data to visualize it in the creative way. Like Rafik Anadol, he does an amazing job putting this, using, again, LED wall, but it's all about the idea, what the data is, right? What do they use to visualize it? And Monochronicle is a network of artists. We do have artists there. We help them through their career development, and they're there to showcase their work. And we also like a marketplace, so they can sell their work. They can sell their sculptures or mural designs right there. And this is something we are focusing these days. And finally, the process, like you mentioned, is important, and I just feel like it's a lot about a lot of work and understaffed and not being able to, like, having no experience to understand how it works, and AI can help it in some way, right? Just to reduce the amount of work. Just think about it as a calculator, right? You can do all the math on the paper, right? But you can just input those numbers and get the result. So we are like a calculator, but for public art.
And if I could just add like one quick analogy from the scientific world for that. You know, a scientist coming up with a new theory, like Einstein coming up with a theory of relativity, making that jump, right? That's the epitome of the scientific endeavor. But around that, there's so much process, like similar to art, right? There's going to grant proposals and finding the right grant. There's sifting through tons and tons of scientific literature to know what has happened before. There's lots of number crunching and project management and bringing people together. I think those are the areas which are ripe to be improved and made more efficient with the help of AI, so that that ultimate endeavor can happen more, and then we create more space for it.
And I think there's also acceptance of more impermanence in built environments, so that, not that all is a page, but it gives opportunity for many, or changing elements.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Or a comment. So thank you, Iryna and Astitva, for this beautiful talk. A couple things. One, it's very nice to see this is a product, a venue for artists to use AI, because most artists are afraid of AI, right? Because they're afraid that AI is going to copy their work, and that's something that I always hear about. So it's nice to hear. But how does this protect their artwork? And then if you could address that, I have another question.
This is a great question, because it's the truth. If artists upload the images or information through open source AI that have this mark, use my information to train, I don't know what's going to happen with this data, right? But what we are doing, it's local. So basically what you keep on your computer is just on your computer. So nobody else is going to gather unless you give them access, right? So this is what we're trying to do. So if we ever use artist information, such as images or resume, etc., it's only on a local cloud, and it only goes through our process, not nobody else. So they cannot be used for training. And also on Monochronicle privacy policies, we are very much transparent that we are not using artist images in any way. We are not generating images using artist artworks.
And in general, I think there's a lot of research that is happening around how to build guardrails around these kinds of systems. Data privacy is definitely a top concern across all kinds of use cases. And a lot of the companies that build these kinds of AI models are building that in from the get-go, so that these things are safe and ethical to use. And there's a lot more that needs to happen to make these systems safe and the right tool for art. And that's where I think the collaboration between technology and artists is going to be so important. And it's so important now for people who are practitioners of art and who are working in this system to come and give technologists that feedback, that this is how these systems need to behave, this is how they can be useful to the community as a whole. And promoting that dialogue is so important right now.
Any more questions? Yeah?
Can you talk about, I know you mentioned it, you said, you showed the diagram of the artist and the art institution and the whole process, about the biases. How are you?
Yes, I love these questions. It's very interesting because we are all prone to biases. You know, this cognitive biases, like familiarity. You heard of this artist, you don't hear of other artists. So obviously, when you see those both of these artists, you will prefer the one that you know. Next is the recency biases. When you recently heard of an artist and you didn't hear of another one for a while, again, you most likely will give preference to the one you recently heard about. And then in some committees, people discuss art. So if somebody says, oh, I like this artist, the other may say, okay, they like it, so I probably like it too, even if this person doesn't really like it. So lots of this can be eliminated by, first of all, anonymizing artist applications. So we don't know who the artist is, what's their race, location, or anything. We just look at the art and we try to give our best personal opinion, because still it's going to be a personal opinion, whether you like it or not. And this is one of the ways. The second way is the way you form the artist evaluation form or application, how they answer, what kind of rubrics. For example, we are thinking that artist popularity or artist presence on the media is an important rubric, because this is, if artists often paints everywhere, then there is some demand, or the artist has experience. It has to be evaluated. At the moment, right now, nobody really looks at this kind of thing. And there are other examples. Maybe you have some other examples too.
No, I think those are perfect examples. And I think where AI can help in this space is by providing an objective canvas through which humans and AI models can collaborate. I've seen examples of this happen in performance evaluation that happens in companies, where there used to be a lot of issues with people who are doing the evaluation. They used to have some biases that they were bringing to the process. And I've seen like examples where models walk people through that, okay, as we go through these evaluations, can we make sure that these biases are not coming into evaluation? Are you sure that this is not something where you recently saw an example and that's what you are over-indexing on? But once again, I think it's up to us as the users to decide how we want to use these tools, and the models are really good and they can help us out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a calculator, but the input is very much important. What do you ask this to do?
So what's your next step with your company?
We keep exploring this. Now we want to accept some volunteers, like projects that we could take the real artists' portfolios, real, even past projects. For example, artists went through this process already, but we want to kind of go back and see what did they use as a criteria. These are public meetings. We can just use a record or be present and see. And then we use a machine and we see what machine says. And then we discuss what the difference is. Because, again, we can narrow down and eliminate some of the information. We can exclude artists at the first stage without them trying to develop a design. If we already know he's painting murals, but we need the sculpture, so why would we bother the artist, right?
I think similar to that, I think my goal with this is to, like you said, right? Like a lot of artists are skeptical about AI right now, and they're hesitant to try it out. I would love to create a platform or a system where artists can play around with these systems, learn what they're capable of, learn what the limitations are, and then provide feedback on what would improve them, right? So making this more accessible, more useful for artists in different domains, I think that would be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and just to conclude, we already use AI as ChatGPT, the trained public art GPT, throughout our work. So if, for example, a project has something to narrow down, we can already use it. And you already can, when it's your personalized, GPT, it doesn't go for training. It does only what you use it for. So that's also with something used at the moment. And I already see, sometimes it shows the results just the same as general would give, but sometimes it gives a really precise answer related to public art.
Interesting. I'd really love to see when you do your comparisons with the public art projects, and then what the system, how that correlates.
Yeah, let us know if there are artists.
Another talk.
If there are artists who want to try and see and be part of the process, we can evaluate them, and let's see if they agree with their results. Yes?
Would artists be able to register on the website on the Monochronicle?
Yes, it's free. You can use it. It's for free. And also on Monochronicle, we post open calls because we do try to work with the cities, and whatever they want us to put there, we put it in there. And we currently use just a simple system as anybody else when we accept applications, and then they can rate it on the back end just by looking at the images, reading their emails. We just automate it for them. But yes, you can register, but you don't have to do it to apply for open calls. But if you want to put your artwork for sale, then yes, we would need your account.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
I love Shepherd very much.